Hello guys and welcome back. You're watching the Camera 64 podcast and I am your host Alfonso Chavez, and as always we're coming to you from San Antonio, Texas. First off guys, I'd like to thank the people who have been watching my videos. To my pleasant surprise, I've had a few people actually contact me, send me messages. That is amazing to me because the fact is I've been making videos now for a pretty long time, not only for my clients but as well as my YouTube, and nobody has ever watched pretty much any of my videos from beginning to end. So it's kind of very tickling, very nice to actually have somebody respond to some of my videos. That's just amazing to me that somebody is actually watching these, which is great. So if you are enjoying the video and have enjoyed videos in the past, I want to ask that you please give us a thumbs up, like our video, and even subscribe. We've even had some new subscribers here over the past month or two, which has been amazing to me as well. I am pleasantly surprised, and I am also very humbled by the fact that people are actually taking the time, because I understand how this works. It's a time thing, right? I'm giving up some of my time and you also are taking the time to actually watch my videos. So without to boot too much more, let's go ahead and talk about what I want to really get into today. And that is when buying used gear, right? Lenses in particular. Now, lenses are one of the things that is extremely expensive, guys. Sometimes, well, not sometimes, most times, if you're really looking to get into professional photography. So one of the things about getting into professional photography is the fact that lenses can be very expensive, and they are very expensive. There are many lenses, especially now in the mirrorless age from Canon, which is what I shoot, Canon, that are nearly double the price of a camera body, or equal to, or just below the price of a camera body. So most L series lenses, which are the ones that you ultimately want to own, and I know most people are not going to run out and buy L series lenses, because I myself only own a couple of them. It's just not cost effective in the beginning, right? You're getting your toes wet, you're getting started. Mirrorless seems like a really good idea, but the fact is that, gosh, you get an R6 Mark II like the one that I'm on right now, and pair it with a 24 to 105 f4, or even worse, a 24 to 105 f2.8, and you quickly find out that setup is around $7,000 or $8,000, which is out of a lot of people's budget, especially if you're just getting started and you have no clients and you have no idea how to get started. So I wanted to talk about different options as far as being able to acquire lenses that are on the higher end at a cheaper price. Now, there's a lot of ways to do that. I always recommend buying used lenses, because ultimately that's going to always be the best deal, right? Whoever buys that lens first is going to pay the big price tag, and the price will always come down. Now, lenses, fortunately, are in the situation where you can purchase a lens today and sell it, chances are a few years down the line. And if it is a high quality L series glass from Canon, I'm going to use Canon because that's what I know, there's a good chance that you can sell it for probably 80 to 90% of what you paid for it, which is amazing to me. And in some cases, it can actually go up in price. The perfect example would be the 85, the EF 85, which it's not even an L series, it's an 85 1.8. Now, if you bought that if you bought that lens in the mid 2000s, you could pick it up for maybe $300, $299, $350, somewhere in that price range. And then it went up in price. So now they cost $400, $450. So you would actually turn a profit by selling that lens at the same price that you paid for it, considering that you've maybe owned that lens for a year or two. So basically it has come down in value, but the market for it is so high that you're able to actually get a return or break even on lenses like that. That's the one saving grace. But there's another way too. Lenses that have scratches on them, front elements. Now, for whatever reason, I don't see how people, well, no, I take that back. I can see how people can have scratches on their lenses either by dropping them or scratching them up against surfaces when they don't have the lens cap on. But it's very hard to do. I'll be quite honest. I have lenses that I just throw in my bag with an end cap, but never a front cover on the cap. My front cap is, I very rarely use front caps ever. So you would think that I would have probably the most scratched up lenses that you could possibly have or be in that situation. But to be quite honest, it's very rare. I don't have any lenses other than what I wanted to get into today, and that's the fact that lenses that do have scratch marks on the front and in some cases in the rear seem to get sold for a lot less than ones that are not. And I'm here to tell you that that's a great way to buy lenses. I've bought several lenses that I've gotten really cheaply just because there's a front scratch on the front of the lens or the element. And in this particular case, the lens that I'm going to show you right here, I don't know how they managed to do it, but not only does it have a scratch on the front part of that element, but it's also got one on the back too. Now, how in the world did they do that? I have no idea. But so these are not really scratches. Now, when for me, a scratch is maybe a scratch, a slight scratch across like that, or maybe a buff mark. You might get a mark where they took a cleaning cloth that was dirty and cleaned the front of the elements with a dirty cloth, and it kind of buffed it out a little bit. And on the back side of this, there's actually on the rear element, there's a scratch on the rear element. Now, how in the world they did that, I have no idea. That scratch makes no sense to me, but it is a pretty nice scratch on it. But so this is the lens I'm talking about here is the 14 to 24 Sigma 2.8, which is a fantastic lens. This is a lens I had been wanting to buy for a while. When it was first introduced, gosh, about 10 years ago. No, not that far, maybe 7 or 8 years ago maybe. And I always wanted this lens because if you've never shot wide before, there's just something about a wide angle, guys. And then there's situations where you just absolutely need a wide angle. If you're in a small room or if you're in a church venue where the bride is changing and that room is tiny, and you got to get in there and get pictures of the bride with her mom and her dad, and there's just not a lot of room when you get a whole bunch of people in there. So that's another situation where you just have to have a lens like this, because 24 millimeters is just not going to cut it, because you're not able to back up at all. But going back to the idea that just because this lens has got some pretty nice scratches and scuffs up here in the front, and this one is bulbous, as you can see here, it is bulbous, very big. Hopefully you can see the scratches in it. But yeah, even with the big scratches on the front and having a scratch on the back, this lens still does a fantastic job. I am so glad that I first found the lens, and two, I got this lens for $400. $400. I could not believe it. As soon as he said it was in the store for $600, and I told him, well, I really like the lens, but it's really scratched up. I showed him the scratches on the front. I showed him the scratches on the back. I said, this is gonna be a very tough lens to use, and it's gonna fall. I mean, it's a niche lens to begin with, but it's gonna even make it become even more niche, because there are certain situations that you do want to avoid with the lens that have scratches, and I'll go into that here too. But he understood, and he brought the lens down $200. So I ended up walking out of the store, out of the pawn shop with this lens for $400. And this, my friends, is a $1,500 lens, and I got it for $400. And I love this lens so much, especially for crop sensor cameras, because this is my 20D, which we've talked about in other videos, because I'm doing a series of pictures with this camera. But yeah, it works great. It works really good even on this crop sensor camera. If I use it on a full frame camera, it's amazing, guys. I mean, I can get super wide. 14 millimeters on a full frame camera is nice. And it does not have any bow, and all my lines are straight on this lens, which is amazing. There's a term, and I don't know what it is. You'll have to forgive me, but I don't know what the name of that is. But oh gosh, I'm drawing blank. I have to look it up. But anyway, the lines are straight. It's a 2.8 all the way through, 14 to 24 millimeters. And it's sharp. It really is sharp. Now, there are a couple of drawbacks if you're on, because this is an EF mount. If you're shooting on an EF camera, like say for instance this 20D, or if I shoot this on my 1D Mark III, Mark IV, the focusing is not that great. But if I use this lens on my R6 in the other room, or my R6 II, which you're watching me on right now, those two cameras, because they're mirrorless, man, they focus fantastic, making this lens just amazing. Now, I did talk about there's a couple of drawbacks now. Because of the scratch, the only time that you will get into a little bit of trouble is if the sun is coming directly into the lens, and what happens is it bounces off the glass. Because of those scratches, the light kind of gets straight off, and you will get some flaring inside. But the flaring is kind of weird, because normally flaring comes from one of the corners into the frame. Well, this is flaring at the center, so it hits that cracked part or scratched part of the lens, and it flares right at that. So it's not major, it's very minor, and even when it does happen, you can hardly see it. I mean, the only reason I see it is because I know it's there, but the average customer is not going to notice it. But you just avoid the sun or being backlit, and if you can avoid being backlit on your subject, then you're not going to have any problems at all whatsoever. You're never going to know. So I never shoot that way anyway. That's not my particular style. I'm not into the super bright images. That's not what I do. If you go to my website, you'll see that. But so the lens actually works really well for my use case, and I appreciate the fact that I was able to get it for $400. So if you ever find yourself in a pawn shop, or if you're ever looking online, eBay is one of my favorite places. It's almost like a hobby for me, going to eBay and just buying old lenses or looking at lenses, because you never know what you're gonna find, right? That's one of those things where you go on eBay, and I will spend 45 minutes, an hour, just about every single day, just looking at lenses, looking at cameras. You never know what you're gonna find. So that's a great resource. But don't be scared away, guys. If somebody says, oh, I got this great lens, but it's got a huge scratch on the front element, you do want to lean into that a little bit so that you can get a better price. Say, oh my gosh, chances are that's not going to work. I'll be taking all the risk by buying it from you, so on and so forth. You get the idea, and hopefully you'll end up with a great, fantastic lens that's going to work for you at a very cheap price. Hopefully a quarter of what it actually costs, like for me in this case. So I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna shoot some pictures here. Once I have these pictures, I'll go ahead and I don't know, I might just do a RAW to JPEG conversion, and maybe bring up some saturation and sharpness a little bit, just so that they look nice. And I'm not gonna do anything if the flare shows up, if it shows up, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at the fact that doesn't show at all, hardly. So that's been my show for today, guys, talking about lenses that have scratches and scuffs. Don't be afraid of them. In fact, embrace them. It even can add some character to it. That's part of the reason why I really like older cameras, because they're not clinically sharp like new mirrorless bodies are, just like this video right here. You look at it, it's super sharp, super clear. You're not going to get that from this old Canon 20D, and that's part of the reason why I really like it. The fact that the lens does miss focus on occasion. It gives me some soft pictures. People don't even realize, they just say, wow, I look good, and it's because they're soft focused. So that's an old photographer's tip right there, guys. But if you're liking my videos and if there's a subject you want me to go into a little bit more, let me know. I'll be more than happy to make a video about that. So till next time, guys, drop me a comment, give me a thumbs up, give me a like, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care. Get out there and shoot something, okay? We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.